Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Real Stories of Success podcast. And Austin and I are here in studio today and really wanted to take a little bit of a detour on what we've been talking about. We've had some amazing guests. I think we're up to almost 20 people that we've had in up to this point. And I think we've learned a lot, man. And I really kind of wanted to debrief on that a little bit with you in this episode and really kind of share maybe what are some of the similarities that we've learned of people that are just truly achieving success on their terms.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. You know, we've talked to a bunch of people, and a lot of people's stories have stood out to us. A lot of people have had really that aha moment, right?
No doubt.
That the audience can take back with us. So really looking forward to recapping this for everybody and exploring what we've already learned.
I definitely think so. And, you know, I've had so many questions. You know, you and I have been doing this podcast now for almost 90 days, and, you know, it doesn't sound like we're that deep into it, but, you know, I know in a lot of businesses doing something for 90 days is really kind of that crux of continuing to do something, continuing to make it better. And you know, I'm excited that we got to that point. You know, we've gotten to a point where we're about 90 days in now. And I think one of the things that doing a podcast has really, really done for me is it's helped consistently expose me to just high level thinking people. Right. And people that are really doing amazing things, and being around those people and having the opportunity to dig into their lives and dig into what they're doing that's helping them achieve that, that success. So I kind of wanted to ask you, what are some of the things that you've taken away from some of the guests that we've had? You know, we've had on Garrick Forney, who's just absolutely rock star agent here in the Indianapolis area. We've had, new home salesperson Matt Krager, who's just killed it for almost 20 years in this business now, and guys like Jay Kinder as well. So what's really stood out to you as far as maybe some of the similarities of just people truly achieving success? Yeah,
well, the people you just named right there, they really love what they do. Right?
No doubt.
It became this thing it's no longer a job for them anymore. It became something. I remember Matt, he kept talking over and over again. He had this smile on his face
all the time.
The entire interview. And you could just tell that's something that he likes, going to work every day. And the old adage, right? Find something you love and it's never going to be a job.
No
right?
doubt. Absolutely.
And I feel the same way, and I feel like you feel the same way about this industry, and even this podcast itself. It's not a job. It's become this fun thing. You know?
It's something you get to do, and it's something you get to do and surround yourself with people that are doing truly awesome things with their lives. And that's exciting, man. That's exciting to always be around positive people that are moving the needle forward and things. So
what about some of the stories for you? I mean, we've heard a lot of the stories, the beginnings, the middles, the ends. You know, what are some of the stories maybe that stood out to you on some of our guests?
No doubt. And I was just re-listening to this episode probably – it was almost Thanksgiving when I sat down and I re-listened to Rhonda Cooper's interview. And I had never met Rhonda before we sat down with her that day. We had a brief phone conversation. But one of the things she talked about was this dynamic of habit stacking. Mm-hmm. And I never really grasped that before she just sat there and explained it. And she walked through kind of what she does with her day. And it started for her with just starting to drink water every day and do that every single day for 30 days before she tried to change something new, and then change something new after that. And it was one new habit that she developed, built the muscle, if you will, for that habit. And within a year, she's just absolutely redefined her business and crushing it at another level yet. And so that was probably one of the aha moments that I had so far with the guests that we've had, was just something so simple that can be really have such a profound impact.
Seth Bennett did something similar, right? When we had Rhonda and Seth had some very similarities in their business, and I actually really, really like this on my side as well. I really connect with that, where you do one thing and you do it and you do it and you do it over and over again, and then it just becomes second nature, and then you move on to that next piece and that next piece, and all of a sudden you've got 20, 30 things that you do just automatically.
Truly.
Just automatically. And I actually, this fits really good with this story of you and me sitting down, and you and I just decided to have a beer one day, right? Yep. And say, hey, I've got this idea for a podcast. And I was like, I've been wanting to do a podcast. And no joke, probably the week after, we just started.
Right?
Yeah. So instead of going and planning all these things out, right, we started a habit. And then all of a sudden now we're 90 days in and we're doing this every Tuesday and we've got a good following. And it was all just because we said, hey, one day we're going to start a habit.
And that's really what it takes. And that's one of the things that, I think we've seen from different stories, and going back to like Garrick Forney's as an example, but he just truly chose to get started one day.
Yeah.
And I remember him doing this where, he wrote down the people that he's working with that day and what do I need to do to, provide the maximum value to these people every day. And that just started building one day after another, and then fast forward, now all of a sudden now he's a real estate extraordinaire overnight, right? Even though it's not it's the furthest thing from the truth, but it was consistency is probably another thing that has really stood out for me.
Yeah.
With every single person that we've talked to is just the consistency of having a daily plan and sticking to that plan and really working to build that muscle, if you will, and develop the skills that it takes to be successful in their trade across the board.
Yep.
It's just showing up every day was another one of the things
Absolutely.
that I think really stood out for me.
Yeah. You know what? Those people we've just named, Jonathan McKinnis, Rhonda, Angie Turley,
oh my
right?
gosh, yeah.
Forney, whoever it's been, they all came from very humble beginnings.
Truly,
right?
all of them did. You're absolutely right.
I remember Forney saying he sold paint, right? Yep. Angie Turley was an assistant. Rhonda, I can't remember exactly, but it was she was helping somebody else sell real estate. All of these different beginnings are really, really cool to hear and to see that everybody that's listening to this can go out and do that.
Anybody can truly make the decision to change any day that they want to. It's letting go of one habit and picking up a new one. And doing that consistently every single day is the overwhelming takeaway that I've had from this so far. Starting a podcast hasn't completely changed my life, but it's already opened up doors and conversations with people out in New York.
Yeah,
a dude that does a ton of construction work out in the Pennsylvania areas where George is from. He just happened to listen to this podcast and reach out to me, and he's truly become a great friend
that's
now at
cool.
this point. And it's somebody that was going through some business challenges, and we've started talking about life, and so it's neat how you can use a podcast to also help build your business and really open up what you're doing as well. How was maybe that change for you in just a very short period of time?
The podcast has done a couple things. Selfishly, yes, it has helped my business, but it's also, I get people coming up all the time. It feels good. Like, hey, listen to this podcast, send you an email, whatever it is, right? Hey, this one, I really, really connected to that, right? So there's both sides. It's helped me personally, but it's also helped a ton of people. And I think I counted the other day, again, this is, we're only about 90 days in, but I think across all platforms, we're somewhere around 1,000 people.
Yeah.
That's really neat. That excites me. We're doing this on our own time. We're not making money, anything like that. It's helping other people. And every time I get one of those emails, every time that someone texts me, hey, I just listened to this one, or, I love that stuff. So reach out, guys. We want you to reach out, give us feedback. If you have people that you want to see on the podcast, we'd love to hear that too. So you've got all our contact information there, but yeah, reach out as much as you possibly can.
I think that's huge. And, something that you just touched on, I think is, another overwhelming characteristic of the people that we've talked to, and I know you have this as well, and I know it drives me, and that's just simply wanting to make an impact, really wanting to make a positive impact on the lives of people around you, and help them get to where they want to be. And I think that was probably one of the main reasons why we started this podcast, was you and I both share that passion, that passion for wanting to teach, wanting to inspire, wanting to just help nudge people and give them that start that they need to say yes they can. You have that on your wrist, and I truly want to get one of those. It's like, yes,
I will get you one of these.
Because it's that daily reminder that yes, you can do this. And that's, I think, something that's truly inspiring for me from all of the guests that we've had on so far is that they just simply made the decision to say yes, I can. They very overwhelmingly went out and sought a coach and put somebody around them that was going to help hold them accountable, that had maybe traveled the path already that they wanted to travel. And they just did those actions every single day. Yeah,
you just hit on something really big there, and I hope everybody saw that, or heard that, was that everyone out there got some outside voice, right? Whether that's a coach, whether it's a mentor, whether it's books, whatever it is, it was some kind of outside source. And you guys are already doing it by listening to this podcast. That's one thing, right? But I can't explain enough, and I know you're a huge believer in coaching. Having somebody there to hold you accountable, to get you out of your comfort zone, to tell you can do things that you had no idea that you really could before.
Without a doubt.
Right? So go find yourself a good mentor. Go find yourself a good coach. There's a ton of different coaching companies out there, right? Attend events. My gosh, the events.
I know you're doing that all the time.
Yeah. I got to be honest, I probably wasn't the first guy that's ever going to say, hey, I should go get a coach, right? I thought, oh, I've got this. I can do this, right? And then all of a sudden, I went to an event and I learned, and I was like, oh my gosh, like my eyes just opened up. There's so many more things I don't even know about, right?
That's it.
Right? I'm not a big reader, but I've really gotten into audiobooks. You know, you can, in a 30-minute drive, knock out a couple chapters, right?
You can. Yep.
You know, I know that you have been a huge believer in coaching. You know, talk about that. What's that look like on your side?
It's really stood out for me in a couple different areas of life, and I'll give you an example of that. So a couple years ago, I was, doing well with my real estate business, but I hadn't really built a team or really grown it, or scaled it. And, I was doing around 70 deals a year, and that was pretty consistent, and, that was good. But it wasn't until I hired a coach, Tim Harris was his name, and now I work with Tim almost every day. And Tim really just showed me how to run this like a business, and he showed me how to do that with my real estate business. And then once I stepped away from the role I was in, he helped me restructure a few things and gave me an idea of, okay, you need to pay attention to this. You've got this expense going out over here. How are you holding that money accountable to work for you? You're writing a check as a business owner, and he really has helped frame my mind as a business owner, not just a guy who likes to go out and show cool houses with big garages to people, So, that was just one example. But I'm working with another gentleman right now that's really helped me to find, tap in and find that purpose, and working purposefully every single day. My dad said it best to me a handful of years ago. He's like, son, I've watched you do all the right shit for all the wrong reasons for a long time. And, you're out there trying to just make money and hustle and do all this, which is good and it's important. And that, that opens doors for you. But man, when you show up every day with that why, with that purpose of here's who I want to serve, here's what problem maybe they have that I can help with, everything changes.
Yeah.
And work becomes fun every single day.
Yeah.
And like you said about Matt, it's fun. You have a smile on your face every single time. And there's always challenges and bumps in the road. But man, when you have the right people around you to help you overcome that, you can make awesome shit happen every day.
Yeah. I love that. So thinking of yourself as a business owner, because that is what you are, right? And having a purpose, your why, or a vision, right?
A vision's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I had coffee last week, and you talked about that. And, one of the things I'm doing right now is I'm working and developing a marketing company as well. And you sat down with me for coffee for 10, 15 minutes or so, and you just got to help, figure out the vision. And me and this gentleman, he owns a mobility business, and we were originally going to help him sell these, cool e-bike things. And then all of a sudden, we were talking about the customer he currently has, and all of a sudden, his whole why changed, his whole vision changed. And he's like, man, but what's awesome to me is being able to help a grandpa get across the football field and be part of his grandson's football game.
Yeah.
And just being able to help him get to and from. He's like, that's where my heart and soul's at. I'm like, holy shoot, we got to completely restructure this. But now he's my first client as a marketing customer.
Yeah.
And that was something that you just shared with me over a 10-minute coffee. So again, that's the benefit of surrounding yourself with just awesome people all the time.
Let's talk about some of the stories, right? Everyone loves a good story, right? What are some of the stories that stuck out to you?
Man, that's a good question. I think one of the things, and you weren't here on this interview. You were flying, and I messed up the schedule on it. But Jay Kinder was somebody that I've really flocked to a lot. I've watched every video Jay does on YouTube, and Jay was that guy that really shared this, that leaders create leaders. And what he meant by that was, nobody's going to follow somebody that's not doing something themselves. Nobody's going to follow the leader that's just barking orders at somebody, right? But they're going to follow somebody that is doing what they say they're, that they need to do. They can see that person living that life themselves every single day. Mm-hmm. And the team members that are around them just naturally start to pick up on those habits, that culture, the nuanced work that gets done every day because he's leading that way. And then he's, fast forward 10, 15 years, now he's built this entire company of people that operate that way.
Yeah.
And when one person leaves, which is very rare, and I know your business is this exact same way, when one person leaves, which is rare, man, everybody riles around to fill that void until they find the right next person to go into that, because it's so important to have the right group of people around you, to work to the right culture, if you will. And that's a little bit overused term in my my book sometimes, but when you always surround yourself and everybody's working for that same vision, that's something that really stood out for me. And just the scalability that he's grown with his business by just truly doing that every single day over an extended period of time. I mean, this dude's changing thousands of people's lives every single year. Yeah. And that really inspires me.
The book I'm into right now, it's called Man Up, and he talks about running his business, and he talks about everybody rallying around if someone is abducted by aliens. They have an abducted by aliens guide, right? So if someone just all of a sudden tomorrow is gone, everybody knows how to fill that spot. Everybody knows how to rally around that one task or whatever.
It's
it is.
So important.
Yeah.
So what about you? I definitely want to ask you that same question, because truly I think every one person has the opportunity to spark something within somebody else. And so what about you? What are the stories that, maybe top story or two that really stood out for you that's really been impactful?
Well, a couple things that I have definitely taken away from this, and this isn't just a podcast, but it's you and me getting to know each other. Seth Bennett has this same situation. For me, I was so focused on real estate, mortgages all the time. Got to do all these different events inside of whether it's MIBOR or whether it's Gimba, whatever it might be. I was going on, and then I met you and Angie Turley and Seth Bennett, and Seth Bennett's a football coach, right?
Yeah,
he loves being a football coach. That's his thing. He's the defensive coordinator, right? And it's his passion. Yours is racing, right?
Sure is.
You are so into the racing community. Angie Turley, she attends. We talked about this. She attends one event, almost two events a summer or a week in the summer, right? And they have nothing to do with real estate. They have nothing to do. It might be a school event. It might be a chamber board, whatever it is. She's attending all these events, and it just was so. It sounds so silly, but it was so eye opening to me.
It was.
The really just getting out and networking in other areas and just being you, right? Doing something you love, like racing. It leads to other big things.
Well, and what's so badass about what Angie does, and I'm glad you brought that up, was she goes to and does golf outings to support the people within her community, whether it be the firefighter or some veteran organization, or for kids or school events. She's always supporting that community, but then she also runs it like a business. She gives away something awesome. She collects information so she can follow up with the people that she had the opportunity to meet at those events, and whether they need a loan right now or not. Man, she gets the opportunity to help them with a loan, whether it's 2 years later, because she's just always there, always top of mind. And that's so important. I think so many salespeople across any platform, they do something for 90 days and then, it's going okay. And then they quit doing the things that, they did to get there to begin with, or they just quit doing it altogether.
Yeah.
And and Angie is such an amazing example of somebody that just truly has found something she loves to do, has just ingrained herself into that community and serves the need at an extraordinary level.
Yeah. And you just said something, like, if I could pull something out of that, if you're looking for a takeaway, it's staying top of mind, right? It's one thing to get the information. It's one thing to talk to those people, and they might remember you for a week, 2 weeks, whatever. But if you're not out there using a CRM, if you're not out there on social media, right, friending all these people that you met, and it doesn't have to be anything about real estate. It could be that you went to the Colts game. It could be whatever, hey, I had a great turkey dinner on Thanksgiving, here's a picture of my family. Whatever that is, you're staying top of mind all the time. So we talk about this in coaching, and we talk about this at Fairway. If you don't have a CRM, you got to get one tomorrow.
I'm gonna tell. I'm not to interrupt you, but I'm gonna tell you a perfect example just to prove your point real quick, if you don't mind. My wife and I, we send out these silly little 1.5 2 minute videos. We post them online, and then I always send them out to my clients as well. And it's every week we send something out that would hopefully be of value to what's going on, whatever's kind of related to to the time of the year. And we sent one out this last week about cleaning your chimney. I've had so many inspections with bad chimneys here lately, but to the point of being top of mind, we had a customer that we helped with a home 2 years ago. And, when you send an email out, you can go in and see who looked at it. Well, this guy had not looked at any of our stuff for almost a year, right? Just hadn't looked at any of it, just kind of out there, didn't return any of my phone calls or anything. Well, I noticed last week he looked at our email, and this week he looked at our email, and the email was free to send out. And now he has a problem needs to sell his house, and we were top of mind at the right time. By having a CRM, by kind of knowing it's going to be cold this time of year, that you might want to use your chimney, right? By thinking through that a little bit, and then just building that out and sending it out. So the power of having a CRM and then using that CRM, now I've got an opportunity to help somebody, and it's exciting.
Yeah, and people want to see, guys out there, people want to see you, right? Make videos. If you don't have something like a BombBomb or a Covance or whatever, I highly suggest getting one of those, because you can send as many fall is coming emails, right? That people are never going to open. But if you did a fall is coming email with your picture and it's a video of you explaining, what things are happening in the industry, whatever it is, you will get responses.
And you do that every week too. I mean, that was one of the things you and I talked about when we, sat down and kind of pulled your story out, was just the importance of your Saturday morning email. I look at your Saturday morning email every time. That is the gospel that I go to, and I quote interest rates, because you're the only person that sends them out to me every single week.
Right.
And I've worked with many other great lenders around the city, but you are consistently the only one who sends it out every single week. And you always have a personal touch to it versus the form email that everybody else sends out, that the company puts out and you forward to, each person. You're doing a video. You're like, hey, here's the 3 highlights of some loan program changes that maybe you want to be aware of, but there's always something, a different value add to it. And again, it's such a small thing, but I'm a busy real estate agent, and I look at that email every single Saturday morning.
Well, I appreciate that. Yes, I am doing good. Yeah, it's a thing, right? My wife, I think I told this story already, but my wife teases me. We were in Hawaii. It's a 6-hour time difference. We were on a vacation in the middle of January, and I got up in the middle of the night, Hawaii time, so I could go ahead and send out the rates. And people have asked me, I've been lucky enough to go around and talk to a lot of big groups around the country, and I get the question all the time, well, why don't you use MailChimp? Why don't you use this or that? It's going to automatically send that out for you. It's going to look very professional. I actually don't want it to. I don't want it to. I mean, yes, I want it to be, but I want it to be for me, and so that's a big key for you guys listening out there is make it personal.
Yeah, you had your dog in yours this last time.
I did. I did. Yes, Sugar. Yes, she was in there. So let me ask you this: what's changed in your business? Right. So since we've started this 90 days ago, maybe some of the things that let the audience know some of the things that have actually changed in your personal business.
Love that. It's and it's really a couple things if I have to narrow it down. But the number one thing that I think has changed, and I've always been a little bit of a shiny object type person. It's like, oh, that's a really awesome new tool over there, without fully developing the skill that I have right in front of me. That's not one of my superpowers yet that I'm working on improving. But nevertheless, this podcast has really changed for me the importance of just doing something every single week and being so ultra clear about where I want to go with this, what I want this podcast to do. And there's a little bit of figure it out as we go, like there is with with everything. However, it's really helped me get focused on my real estate business again, and just hearing some of the stories, and not to keep bringing up guys like Garrick Forney, but what he's done's awesome. Mm-hmm. It's really cool. He's been in the business a shorter period of time than I have been, and what he does is just it's really awesome. Yeah. And I'm inspired by that, and it's really helped me get my focus a little more clear on my personal real estate business. But then what I'm doing within a coaching standpoint as well, it's helped me get really focused on that. It's really helped me understand what type of an impact do I want to have on the people that I have the opportunity to serve, and get very clear on that. And I've gotten clear on how am I helping the people that I'm helping with my coaching business. And in my world, we help a ton of first-time home buyers. I work with a lot of agents that work with first-time home buyers. And so we're focused on, that's where I'm going next, is we're focused on, okay, how do we absolutely help first-time home buyers to the very best of our ability by understanding what are the challenges that they go through and helping circumvent some of those challenges by just simply providing new information, and doing that across platforms just like this. Yeah. So that's another area where this podcast has really helped spark and move my business forward. So it's not directly correlated yet, but it will be, because we're doing all the right actions every day.
Yeah, I love that.
What about you, man?
The biggest thing that's changed for me is, and I wouldn't say change, but it's reminded me, don't forget the small things. Right.
Everything.
Yeah. So some guys and gals out there that have been doing this for a while, it's easy to get into, hey, I started this second level thing or this third level action, and you stop the prospecting phone call or the handwritten thank you card or all these things, right? And so every time we've talked to one of our guests, Rhonda Cooper was a big one of this. they had a system, they had a setup, right? There's an automatic trigger. We talk about triggers a lot, right? An action happens, there should be a trigger for reaction, and a lot of those small things are what got you to where you're at, and to never ever forget those and keep those up on a daily disciplined basis. And that was a consistent thing against with all of our guests, is they all had those triggers and they all had that consistency on the level 1 type thing.
You have to have it, because if you don't, I always like to, and you and I have talked about this, but I always like to say, if a customer emails you at 8 o'clock at night, you generally know, based on where they're at within the sales cycle, what kind of emotion that they're experiencing. You kind of know what problem that they're having, especially if you've done this a handful of times, right? Well, it's super easy to type up a form email and change 2 or 3 words in it versus having to draft a response to that email every single time. And just mapping that out for people, so that way you can still be there for that customer, still respond accordingly, because if you don't respond overnight, well, then all those emotions fester overnight, and then they wake up even more pissed off the next morning. So you hate saying that you have to be there and respond, but you almost do. But you can make that process infinitely more efficient. So.
I was at an event 3 weeks ago, and one of the speakers said, if you write an email more than twice, it should be in your templates.
Absolutely.
Right? If you write an email more than twice, it should be in your templates. And that was one of the big takeaways. And things can be that simple, right? But now all of a sudden it comes back, and I just saved myself maybe 3 hours a week. Right?
But that's it, though, Austin. It's so important that you said that, because everybody is, I hate this saying when people bring this up, I don't have any time. Yes, you do. We all are blessed with the same number of hours and minutes every single day, right? So when you don't have time, it's because you're choosing to invest that time doing something else that's probably not making you money, or it's not helping move you towards your goals, right? Is a better way of saying that. And I actually timed this out. This is probably a year ago now, but I timed this out, typing out a regular email, same situation as what I was talking about before, and it was just responding and setting expectations about an inspection. I already knew what this email needed to say. I've sent this email 48 times before, but just like you said, I hadn't taken the time to build a template, so I just typed it all out again. Well, it took me about 4 minutes to respond to an email, knowing what the response needed to be without having to go research anything or figure it out. But it took me about 4 minutes. That was one customer, one email. Well, you multiply that by 5 times a day, well, there's 30 minutes. Not to mention the compound effect of being distracted and going from one task to the next to the next to the next. There's at least an hour of time wasted in just sending 4 or 5 emails, generally speaking. So you have to build those systems out.
I battle that with my loan officers all the time, right? I'm like, don't send disclosures. Don't send loan disclosures. They're like, well, I'm already in the file and it only takes 10 minutes. But if you're sending 10 of those a week, right?
There's your hour.
Yeah, there's your hour,
Half,
right? Now you have an hour to prospect, right? And get more buyers in. And now your 10 becomes 15, your 15 becomes 30. And it's a joke among the office that we talk about green time and red time.
I was just going to go there. You're so right. And if you don't consciously schedule and budget that green time every week, man, it is the most predictable indicator of success, whether you are investing time doing green time. And if you don't know what those are for your business, reach out to Austin and I will be happy to help you identify what activities like that look like. But you have to spend time every single week on that green time. Otherwise, you're watching YouTube, you're going to have the up and down cycle of business that every salesperson experiences. So it's identifying what are those money-making activities and just building them into your schedule every day, period.
Well, and we mentioned this before, guys. We would love to hear your feedback. You've got our contact information here. We'd like to hear who you want to hear on the podcast, but reach out to us. It's there. AustinL@fairwaymc.com is the best way to reach me. And
then Ryan.Herget@exprealty.com is the best way to track me down. And let's wrap this one up. Austin, this has been a really fun conversation with a ton of good takeaways, I feel. And, if there's anything that we can do, again, to help and support you in your sales career, we'd love the opportunity to do that, as Austin said. So anything else we need to knock out this time?
We appreciate everybody out there.
Likewise. Thanks so much.